Greetings, ghosts and ghouls, and welcome to Bad Boo, a podcast conjured for the curious, where we explore all things frights, flicks, and folklore.
We are your haunting hosts, Sam and Jody, guiding you through every episode of occult exploration and holding your hand the whole way through.
So, if you like the sound of spooks, screams, and symphonies, keep listening as we unravel our mystic matter for this week.
In today's episode, we'll be probing the mysteries of aliens and the unnerving terror that they inflict onto our planet.
Ooh.
Oh, hooray. Aliens.
As you can tell, Sam's really excited for this episode.
As I am for every single one, let's face it.
But especially this one.
Yeah. I mean, let's just get straight into it. What are aliens? Exactly.
What are aliens? So, aliens or extraterrestrial life are classified. You see what I did there with the classified?
Classified.
Mm-hmm. Are classified as life forms that have originated or exist from another world that isn't Earth.
Very interesting. Of course, aliens, not from here.
And this term obviously goes across an entire range of potential life forms that are just simply called single-cell organisms or just bacteria, all the way to really intelligent beings and even civilizations.
I mean, that's probably what more interests people, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is the civilization side of it, humanoid side, like aliens things, instead of like the small minuscule bacteria.
100%. But yeah, so the word extraterrestrial literally means outside of the Earth or like out of this world.
Yeah.
But as far as talking about things that are extraterrestrial and out of this world, we have yet to discover any concrete evidence of life outside of Earth, as it hasn't yet been scientifically or conclusively detected so far.
Obviously, really, that's what adds to the whole mystery and the big debate of the existence of aliens and whether they're real, whether they're just sort of, made up within culture or religion even.
So obviously there are like small signs that we've had from places, like when they said that there was like bacteria on Mars,
for example,
like life on Mars, that type of thing.
And water.
Yeah, and water.
Exactly. And this is a planet right next to us as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and that's water is one of the main sources like needed for life to survive.
Or life as we know it.
Or life
there
as we know it.
There could obviously be life forms that don't need water out there. Who knows?
Absolutely, but it is a conclusive sort of thing of saying there is evidence of life having been here or is here currently.
Yeah, exactly. And in astrobiology, which is like the study of alien life, there hasn't been anything to basically definitively say that yet.
I know, that is...
Unfortunately.
That is the full mystery.
However, that leads us to the idea of where aliens come from, because as much as we haven't discovered it within the form of astrobiology, there's obviously quite a few little clues within our own Earth and our own history as to where aliens come from. Is it something that we made up ourselves? Is it something not?
I mean, I think it sort of goes beyond like fantasy and like elements of fantastical things in which we've spoken about before in our episodes, where aliens is more conclusive and more scientific based, like having there is evidence pointing towards the existence of aliens, very much so, far more than the contrary, as much as people don't like to believe. But the very concept of aliens, or like we said, extraterrestrial life, isn't actually a modern invention, and it has been debated and speculated upon for thousands of years, evolving from pure philosophical thought to scientific inquiry. So it's a far range, like we said. It's like comes from like very cultural beliefs to actual science.
100%. And like even from just even my knowledge, or I suppose like people's general knowledge of aliens, there was like hieroglyphs that were found that were describing aliens, or like creatures that came from, I think there was like one that about creatures that came from beyond the sun. Off the top of my head, that might be wrong, don't quote me on that, but
we'll be going into a little bit of detail though about the where the idea of aliens do come from, and that kind of stems from like the core idea is sort of from humanity's persistent questioning about its place in the vast cosmos. So it's we always question, what is the purpose of life? Why are we here? Where do we come from?
But
the religion backs that, doesn't it?
But the main question that comes from that is always, are we alone?
Are we alone in the universe?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the big question.
Because in space, no one can hear you scream.
Ooh, a little hint. There we go for the film we're talking about in the Silver Scream later.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the origins, the earliest formal origin of the concept of aliens lie within ancient Greece.
Of course they do, as with most things.
Most things is always in Greece. So this is specifically within the atomist school of philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Atomist philosophers like Democritus and Epicurus. So this is around the sort of the 4th to the 3rd century BCE.
Again with the BCE.
BCEs, BCs, you name it. Argued that the universe was composed of countless indivisible particles. So these are like atoms. And that the processes which created Earth must have happened elsewhere.
Mm.
So that's a really interesting
That is
philosophy.
really interesting.
So Epicurus explicitly suggested that the idea of multiple worlds, some like ours and some unlike ours,
So the multiverse.
And stated that we must believe that in all worlds there are living creatures and plants and other things we see in this world.
Ooh.
So very much a believer that we should believe that in every planet, essentially, especially back then before, I suppose, the idea of like gas giants and all these other like
Concepts
of like the planets and astronomy, that there was of course this idea that we should believe that aliens were to be on any planet.
Yeah.
Doesn't
exactly.
matter where.
But there is an idea that really strongly was opposing that view from Epicurus, and that was that there was a very influential like figures, mostly like Aristotle, who were very like earth-centric or like geocentric, and their model of the cosmos basically prevailed over the 1,000 years of teaching, but that basically held the idea that Earth was unique and the Earth was at the center of basically our solar system as we know it as today, making other worlds and other life impossible, essentially. Obviously we know that that's not true now.
No.
So maybe Epicurus was right.
Perhaps. And I think more modern science will probably like lean towards Epicurus instead of Aristotle.
Yeah.
In terms of the beliefs, especially with the Earth being at the centre, and the other worlds around it, the Earth is unique.
Yeah.
We know now through science that there are many worlds like Earth out there that are light years away.
And also that the sun is at our centre and not the Earth itself.
Absolutely. So, of course, through scientific revolution, there was the ancient debate that was revived and transformed by fundamental changes in astronomy, which displaced Earth from its privileged position, essentially.
Basically saying, hell no, the Earth isn't in the middle. There's other stuff that's more important, like the sun.
The sun, indeed. So there was the challenging of the geocentric model. So like the work of Nicolaus Copernicus during the 16th century, and Galileo Galilei, as sung by Queen in Bohemian Rhapsody in the 17th century.
They didn't sing it in the 17th century, but this bloke was from the 17th century.
Yeah, the Queen are not that old, believe me. They're brilliant. Which showed that the Earth orbits the sun. So that is like a heliocentrism, instead of like what Aristotle said, in which the Earth was the centre and everything orbited around the Earth, which revolutionised the worldview of
100%.
astronomy and our solar system and space.
Well, it just made us realise that everything we thought was true wasn't true.
Absolutely. So their idea was that if Earth was just one planet orbiting a star, then other planets orbiting other stars became very conceivable. So we weren't as important as we thought.
No.
We're just a planet orbiting a star, and there are billions and trillions and what God knows what other numbers. Infinite amount of stars, as we know the universe is infinitely long. Infinite amount of stars. You think we cannot possibly be this little dot.
Yeah.
The only place in the entire universe that's got life on it.
And not only infinite stars, but infinite worlds as well. And that was kind of pushed by the philosopher Giordano Bruno in the 16th century as well. And he was just a major champion of this idea, really, because he proposed that the stars were just other suns and that each of them had their own planets that revolved around them, essentially. And they could also easily be inhabited by other beings, quotes, no less perfect than our own.
That's quite a good quote.
That's a really, really good quote.
No less perfect.
I might have to get that like tattooed somewhere.
That's crazy.
But yeah, this like at the time it was conceived as a really radical concept, but it directly contributed to his trial and like execution in the end for heresy, illustrating the clash between new science and the established theology.
So it's really interesting. A lot of these scientists were probably considered madmen.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you on about? You know, be quiet. And often, you know, you've got to think back then, religion over science was massive. You know?
Hugely.
So any sort of idea that sort of went against the idea of God or the idea of creation and saying, no, it's different.
It was instantly just snapped away.
You're kind of immediately just sort of like, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Get away.
Immediately ridiculed and just like gotten rid of instead of heard out.
Yeah.
But that leads us into a little bit of a more current perspective, which is the 19th and 20th centuries, with the concept of speculation and science fiction becoming more prevalent.
Yes, absolutely, because science fiction wasn't really a thing really before, and it was obviously very much popularized during many texts of the time during that time. So like the concept of aliens exploded very much so in the public consciousness with the advent of modern astronomy and technology. You know, so the Italian astronomer Giovanni Schiaparelli observed what he called canali, which are channels on the surface of Mars. So, and when translated into English as canals, it spurred the sensational idea that these were vast irrigation systems built by an intelligent Martian civilization. Ooh. This inspired widespread belief in Martians and influenced writers such as H.G. Wells, which H.G. Wells is the iconic writer behind The War of the Worlds, which is like the influence of science fiction.
It is.
Basically.
It's the alien book and almost thesis at this point. It's so well renowned that it may as well be a thesis instead of just a novel. But talking a little bit about H.G. Wells and The War of the Worlds, which was written in 1898, it basically codified the modern image of an alien, and it spoke about its often menacing and technologically advanced like being, which was even solidified with the flying saucer and little green man archetypes. In the mid-20th century, the question transitioned from philosophy and fiction into astrobiology and the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI.
SETI. So not a sofa. You don't sit on it.
And not Yeti. SETI.
Not Yeti. SETI.
But yeah, that basically H.G. Wells' Book of War of the Worlds kind of set that into motion.
Very much so.
And there was projects like the Drake equation, not like Drake is in the rapper, kind of mid-rapper, we say pop star nowadays, in 1961, who attempted to mathematically estimate the probability of intelligent life existing. But it basically provided a framework for the modern scientific research we know today.
Yeah.
And that all came from War of the Worlds, pretty much.
H.G. Wells, he sparked this, like, it's so influential. It's one of the most influential texts, like, ever
more
in
like
terms of fiction.
H.G. well.
Or H.G. well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's done a great job.
Claps for H.G.
Well done, H.G. No, but I mean, that book, I've read it. I read it a long time ago when I was in high school even. And especially listened to the musical. Yeah. Through my phone, like through headphones, and especially on the way to holidays. Often when we go to Legoland, for some reason as a family, we'd listen to War of the Worlds. Really? Yeah. And it is one of my favourite like soundtracks. It's amazingly done, but it tells a story in such an interesting way, mashes all these different artists around the world together. But it tells a story in probably the best way, aside from like I say Steven Spielberg's 2005 adaptation. Well, that's where my knowledge comes in. I may not be as literarily educated as Sam is, as you can tell by my use of that word. Yeah. But the first time I ever heard of the World of the Wars, well, that's the one that we live in. The first time that I heard of the War of the Worlds was in the 2005
Tom Cruise
movie. Yeah.
And my mum had shown me it when I was probably about 7 or 8, because it just came on TV and she wanted to watch it, so we watched it, and I was absolutely scared, excuse my language, shitless.
Yes.
I thought, oh my god, the world's gonna end, and it's gonna end today.
It's a terrifying story. I used to be scared
really,
of
really terrifying.
The story, full stop.
But it's amazing. It's so well shot. It's so well cast.
I think it's 20 years old.
Yeah.
And it looks better than most films nowadays.
Yeah. It really does. It's amazing.
And the reason we're talking about this film now is because it is not our silver screen.
It isn't.
It is not. I mean, probably from the title, it's very easy to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll go on to that.
But it's an honourable mention for this episode.
Absolutely. So, now we know what an alien is, where the sort of general ideas come from, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, the thing that is most interesting about aliens are like the sightings over the years, and the most famous ones. So we've gathered a few of the most famous and earliest sightings of this flying saucer.
Mm-hmm.
The first one being the Kenneth Arnold sighting, which was the birth of the flying saucer kind of imagery.
Yeah.
Classic sort of, have you seen this image? This is the flying saucer, blah, blah, blah. Taking a picture of it.
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this flying saucer?
Have you seen this saucer? So this was in 1947, June the 24th, so a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
And this was near Mount Rainier in Washington State, so in the US. And the witness was Kenneth Arnold, who is a respected private pilot and businessman in America.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw a chain of 9 highly reflective, unconventional objects moving at an estimated speed of over 1,200 miles an hour, far exceeding any known aircraft at the time.
That's crazy.
And seeing as he was a private pilot, he would know his stuff about like aeroplanes and aerospace probably, and flying vehicles. So seeing things moving at that speed is probably like, what the hell?
If anybody's going to know what they're talking about, it's going to be this guy.
It's going to be Kenneth. And Arnold stated that they moved erratically, like a saucer skipped across the water. It's a bit like stone skimming, if you know what that is. When you throw a stone, like a flat stone across the water, it was like bouncing around erratically. Which, again, even if it was an aircraft for some reason moving
it wouldn't be able to do that type of motion.
1.2k miles an hour, that motion is, kind of defies physics. And the description was misinterpreted by the press, who printed the story using the term flying saucer, which is now a very iconic phrase that instantly entered into the global vocab.
Yeah. I think
aliens.
Everybody hears flying saucer and they think, oh my god, alien.
Yeah, as
UFO.
soon as someone says, I saw a flying saucer.
Yeah.
It's not like a dinner plate, flying across the room. Might be. If someone's having a bit of a rage.
Please don't throw plates, guys.
No, it's a bit dangerous. But it was the very first widely publicised post-World War II sighting in the US. And it, like I said, it initiated the modern fascination and subsequent wave of UFO, as they were known up until recently, reports.
Oh, yes, of course, because they changed it recently, didn't they?
It's a UAP now.
UAP?
I believe so.
What does UAP stand for?
So UAP stands for an unidentified aerial phenomena. So that is what it is known as nowadays. There's been many reasons and debates to why they've changed the name, but that's another story.
Yeah,
for sure.
Another story for a different day. The second incident that we have is also in 1947, but it's in July, so just a few weeks after the first one that we heard about. And this is called the Roswell incident, aka the birth of the alien cover-up. So, this is set in a sheep ranch near Roswell, which is in New Mexico, again in the US. And the discovery is that there was a rancher who found scattered, unusual debris, which was lightweight, tough metallic foil, rubber strips, and thin beam-like sticks with strange marking on them, later described as hieroglyphics by some, and the story goes as follows. So the Roswell Army Airfield, or the RAAF, issued a press release on July the 8th, 1947, announcing that they had recovered a flying disc.
Not a saucer this time, just a disc.
Yeah, just a flying disc. The military quickly changed the story, stating that the debris was from a conventional weather balloon carrying a radar target. Years later, the Air Force identified the material as belonging to a top-secret balloon project called Project Mogul.
Which is interesting.
That is really interesting, especially because they tried to cover it up too.
Yeah.
The rapid contradiction between the airfield and the Air Force quickly fueled contradiction, and basically it all turned into a conspiracy theory that the military was actively covering up a crashed alien spacecraft and that extraterrestrial bodies were being recovered, that they were being also like secretly studied and hidden at places like the infamous Area 51.
Absolutely. So I think that very much so was sort of the defining moment that caused like, okay, the government are hiding something from us type thing, because there was like contradictions and there was conspiracies, and I think there's a lot of strangeness behind it. So that was sort of the case, I believe, that sparked the whole, okay, we're not being told the truth about things.
Yeah.
And they've got
things
behind the scenes going on.
Yeah. And basically this particular case, where it got so much media attention, ended up becoming the most famous case ever in UFO history, which just forever links the idea of alien sightings to the massive long-term government secrecy idea and politics, pretty much.
Yeah. So
which is very true. I think they're definitely hiding something from us.
I personally think that there's
the American government and the UK government.
I mean, what are they protecting so hard? And there's been so many times where people have gone to go and say stuff and they've gone missing or been unfortunately executed as well.
Or they've been found mysteriously dead in their homes or in random places a couple of weeks later, a couple of days later.
Yeah. So that's a whole different ballgame, whole different story. It's so in depth, all this astrobiology and aliens and stuff, but we're just scratching the surface for you all. Yeah. Give you a little bit of key information and fun facts, essentially.
Yeah. But just before we go into the modern alien sightings that we're about to tell you, just to get a more up-to-date stance on it, did you actually know that there is a conspiracy theory about the reason that they are protecting alien life and extraterrestrial life?
What is this theory?
So, this is just from my general knowledge about things I picked up on the internet on my many years of
internet usage,
scrolling and internet usage. Apparently, if you look at the timeline of humanity and you look at all of the kind of different industrial ages that we've had, obviously you've got the Stone Age, and then that went to like the Iron Age, and like humanity develops, right? We find new materials, we make new things, like civilization starts to kind of update itself, right? So it turns out after about 2010, or maybe even earlier than that, I think maybe even the 90s, after things like, if you think about it, the only real thing that's changed recently is technology, right? Nothing else has changed. There's no new materials. There's not a lot of discoveries.
We're still living on the same rock.
Yeah, we're still living on the same
Very
rock.
much so.
And nothing's really being done about it.
No.
So the idea is that everybody knows that the Earth is due its next kind of huge technological upgrade or finding, right? So obviously the one just before this was the Industrial Age, where we went from using coal and fumes effectively into electricity and things like that. And then obviously we had the tech age, where we've gone into phones and iPads and VR and AI and all these different things. But there's been no big changes as of yet. No. So where we're missing that huge new technological upgrade and change, apparently people are saying that it was meant to be us discovering alien life and like alien power forms from the devices that they fly or that they use, but it's purposely being hidden from us so that we don't progress as a society, and then it's only kept for the elites.
That's really interesting. Wouldn't surprise me.
Obviously, it's a big conspiracy theory, so everybody is allowed to believe what they want to believe.
A grain of salt, a very pinch of salt.
Yes, there's a grain of salt in there. But just think about that for a minute. It makes sense, right?
It does make sense. Yeah, now you said that, I mean, I haven't heard that theory before, but I like that theory. I like these theories. Great theories all round.
But onto some modern sightings for you.
On to some very modern alien sightings. Well, more so modern. Starting off with the Phoenix Lights, which was in 1997, not to be confused with Peter Kay, the Phoenix Nights, which was on March the 13th in 1997 over Phoenix in Arizona in the US. So again, the US. It's always the US. Thousands of people, including then Governor Fife Symington, reported seeing a massive, silent, V-shaped or triangular object with 5 spherical lights passing slowly over the state.
What?
So that's wild. And again, it is one of the largest mass UFO sightings in history, and is noted for the high number of witnesses across a very wide area, which is very important. Witnesses saying the same thing, seeing the same phenomenon, very much points to something peculiar. And a second set of lights was seen later that night and was officially confirmed to be military flares, but the governor later stated that the initial V-shaped object was definitely non-conventional. So...
But why was the military randomly firing flares just a little bit afterwards? It makes you think maybe they were trying to deter something.
Perhaps. And again, there's contradiction here, isn't there? So again,
there always is.
This point is pointing at something peculiar again. This is what the whole concept of aliens are, is peculiar.
Then we have the next encounter, which is a little bit more recent, in 2004. So just, 21 years ago now?
Yep.
Quick maths there for you.
Maths.
I may not be able to speak English, but I can do maths.
Which I can't.
We balance each other out, it's okay. So this next one is the USS Nimitz, or aka the Tic Tac encounters. So this happened in November of 2004, and it just happened off the coast of San Diego in California. So again, the US. What is with the US having all of these sightings?
Aliens
I'm jealous.
love the US. Yeah, give us some.
Give us some. So the sighting is that US Navy personnel from the USS Nimitz carrier strike group reportedly tracked objects on a radar. So when 2 FA-18F fighter jets were dispatched, I'm assuming from the carrier, the pilots intercepted a white, smooth, oval-shaped object, which was dubbed the Tic Tac, but it had no visible wings, control surfaces, or exhaust plumes at all.
That's again very interesting.
Yeah.
So again, a very unconventional, flying object. And it's probably, thinking about it when I was reading that, probably where the Tic Tac mints come from.
Probably, yeah.
Because they're oval shaped and smooth, aren't they? So perhaps that's a theory.
Yeah.
The Tic Tac theory.
The Tic Tac theory. So the pilots reported that the object descended rapidly from 80,000 feet to hover over just above the ocean, and then accelerated away instantly, achieving speeds and G-forces impossible for any human-known aircraft.
Again, it's pointing towards something that's not from here.
And like many of the other ones, obviously people got involved. And with this particular incident, it corroborated multiple high credible military witnesses, obviously as they were in the vessel and they were in the planes as well. And the release of authenticated forward-looking infrared, so FLIR, video footage by the Pentagon in 2020 was the foundation for the modern UAP investigation.
Yes. So
there's still an investigation for it now, which is
interesting.
Crazy.
Such an interesting topic, all this about aliens. And the next one that we've gathered is the O'Hare International Airport sighting in 2006, which was over Chicago's O'Hare International Airport, where over a dozen United Airline employees, including pilots and mechanics, witnessed a dark grey saucer-shaped craft hovering silently over gate C-17. It reportedly hung in the air for about 5 minutes before shooting vertically through the clouds at breakneck speed. And while the Federal Aviation Administration, so the FAA, officially dismissed it as a weather phenomenon since it wasn't seen on radar, the high number of professional aviation witnesses made it a major international news story and highlighted the UAP as a potential air safety issue. So, again, it not appearing on radar, why would it? Because might not be from here. So again, that's another strange phenomenon. It seems to be covered up by personnel of the military or within like the aviation administration societies across America.
Yeah.
So again, all of these modern alien sightings and all of the previous ones all point towards a very large contradiction of data and between the public and between workers and the government. So there's very much some sort of cover up / don't want to point these out because it might scare the public.
Yeah.
Which
you do understand to an extent, but also just like give us the truth,
Yeah, it's all
we
about
need
the
to
truth.
like we look at the sky every single night and we see the stars, we see the moon, we see the other planets that are out there.
We know.
Yeah, we know.
Most
and also,
people know.
If you're, in my opinion, if you're small-minded enough to think that people and humans are the only beings in this universe, good for you, so be it. But it's genuinely an impossible theory for me to even try and comprehend.
If the universe is infinitely long, how can a tiny little dot like ours, like we spoke about from philosophers, how they eventually discovered that the Earth was not important and essential piece of the solar system.
Yeah.
We are diminished to just being an entity within the universe.
Precisely.
And, there's science that's pointed towards planets that are safe for life, just like ours.
Yeah.
So, like I say, good for you if you think that it's impossible for aliens to exist, but
that's not very open-minded of you.
It's not very open-minded, and I also think that, it's a bit... aliens do exist, in my opinion.
They do 100% exist.
We just
and if
haven't
you don't want to
discovered
have
it
that
yet.
conversation, don't tune into the podcast today.
Yes.
Because it's all about aliens.
Yes.
Because they're real.
They are real.
But just before we head on to the next little bit of Mystic Matter, I just done a quick little Google search to see if the UK has had alien sightings, which of course it has. I just want to see if there was any notable ones. There's one called the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980, which was a series of strange lights and a flying saucer was seen again by military personnel in
Always the military.
the Rendlesham Forest in the UK, which led to a highly publicised investigation. And then I found a very old one, which is called the Nuremberg incident from 1561.
Jeez, that's an old one.
Yeah. Obviously, there's no proper account for this one.
Yeah,
but
they didn't have it on their phones or anything.
Yeah, no.
Back in the 1500s.
They couldn't tweet about it when they saw anything. But it's a really early example of a mass sighting as it was described in a 1561 broadsheet, which shows celestial phenomena happening, and some ufologists nowadays speculate that it could have been extraterrestrial craft that they were seeing.
Perhaps. I mean, like you iterated earlier about the pyramids and the hieroglyphics, pointing towards, having, even I think believing more even older than that.
Yeah.
On rocks and stuff, there's evidence of spaceships and drawings of ships and having probes and everything like that.
I think even in cavemen drawings, Neanderthal type things.
All the way back then.
Yeah. There were drawings of it, carvings of it into rocks and things like that. And then you've got the Egyptians and the pyramids and Stonehenge.
Yeah.
All these different things that nobody can really explain.
Stonehenge is another one of those things. And I know my dad loves bringing up Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Rightly so, because, where do those rocks come from? How do they get there? They're rocks that do not belong anywhere near where Stonehenge are.
And the rock that we were just looking at the other week, which doesn't belong where it is the Devil's Longstone. They've all got different supernatural beliefs surrounding them.
They do.
Because nobody knows where they've come from. And they've all just kind of spawned in areas that they don't belong on.
So if you, go and check out the the demons episode, which is a few episodes ago now. But if you haven't seen it, then go and check it out. And our Instagram at Bad Boo Productions, where you can see the Devil's Longstone, which you can also see does not belong in the area.
No, it doesn't belong there at all.
It's a very strange phenomenon.
And geologically speaking, it doesn't belong there because of what it's made out of.
Exactly.
Much with the Stonehenge.
And the pyramids is crazy.
And the pyramids
as well.
is crazy.
That's what gets me as well. Is they are so big.
Yeah.
And you think, how can people drag those?
Yeah.
For miles and miles and miles.
And I think even if
There's so many
did,
theories behind the pyramids and how they got there.
Even if they did drag them, even if they were like people say it was slaves that built them and all these types of things.
Yeah.
If it was that theory, so be it. But how are they all so perfectly lined up across, not even there, but across the world?
I think they all point perfectly to north.
Yeah, they all point in specific directions. They all sit on ley lines, which are like the spiritual kind of like interfaces of the world, essentially. And it just all lines up too perfectly.
They point exactly to a certain point.
Yeah, and the only way that you can see that is from space.
Yeah, it's
so
very
of course, if someone's looking at us from space and they're thinking,
I mean, how did they work this out?
Let me just do a bit of like pixel art, picto chat.
Yeah, they used
drawing
Microsoft Paint
on this planet.
On our Earth.
Yeah, for real, and they just came up with the pyramids. Crazy indeed.
But
straying away from our theories,
that aside,
here are some popular theories that surround the idea of aliens and extraterrestrial life. The first one is the prosaic explanation, which is, are they known or natural? So these theories suggest that UAPs, or unidentifiable aerial phenomenons, are simply misidentified known objects or natural phenomena. So they basically say that it could be like drones, where they're increasingly common, they have high speeds, and they are used by military and civilian people, that you can often be encountered for sightings that are near airports and just regular spaces like that. And it also explains why military personnel would have seen them if people are trying to hover over military bases.
Yeah,
they obviously have lights on them as well. They could be advanced secret military aircrafts that people aren't known, like that people don't have knowledge about yet. In cases like the US military or otherworldly powers like China or Russia, for example, could be testing classified aircrafts like hypersonic gliders, for example, or anything that just possesses the capabilities unknown to the public or even to most service members except for their specific grades.
Elite squad.
Yeah, the elite squads. And that could have been the case for the performance of the infamous Tic Tac object, which was theorized to be actual advanced terrestrial technology.
Yeah.
In the end.
It's just, I don't know, you know, this is all strange.
Yeah.
And again, this theory is kind of like a cover-up type thing.
It seems like a cover-up, yeah. And we also have like the natural side of it, which is kind of atmospheric illusions. So phenomena like, excuse my pronunciation of this, but Fata Morgana, which is a complex mirage, or ball lighting, or even plasma effects, which can cause distant lights or objects to appear much closer than they are, or even larger and capable of impossible movements. And then we also have just like stars and planets, where they're bright and familial celestial objects, especially Venus and Jupiter, because those are the ones that we kind of see the most of, are just common causes for misidentified stationary UFOs, because they're just there all the time.
Yeah. I mean, like, I get that theory, especially in modern, you know, UAP sightings, for sure. But when you go back to ones where, you know, before even, you know, perhaps around even when, like, Spitfire planes had just entered, like, the fray in the war, you know, that was, like, the most advanced sort of technology in terms of, like, aeroplane technology. So you're having objects flying around that are way more advanced than that. Not so long afterwards or around that time. Yeah. Doesn't really add up.
It doesn't make any sense.
So, again, that leads us on to an exotic explanation set.
Let's spice it up a little bit.
Are otherwise known as non-human intelligence, so NHIs. So these theories are especially gaining new traction, especially after the US government established a formal office, which is an AARO, to investigate the UAPs. So there are 3 of these hypotheses, which we're going to speak about briefly. First of which is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, or the ETH, where the UAPs are physical spacecrafts from an alien civilization, either travelling between stars or operating from a hidden base, perhaps underwater or on the dark side of the moon. Not Pink Floyd, but...
And not Transformers.
But, again, that's very plausible.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as the ocean hasn't been fully discovered.
Yeah.
Who's to know?
People say that we started exploring space instead of the ocean because they know what's in the ocean and they don't want to bug it.
That's an interesting theory. And this is the default story for many enthusiasts, supported by the observed, impossible maneuvers, so like instant acceleration, defying the inertia, which suggests a mastery of physics beyond our current comprehension. So again, like the War of the Worlds goes into that, with like the tripods having been in our, under the Earth for ages, and the Martians come down and pilot them. So
such a good film.
It is. We also have the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis, which the NHI are not from outer space, but are a secret indigenous non-human civilization that has always existed on the Earth. So a bit like the War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
What we were just saying then. So a variant suggests that an ancient, highly advanced terrestrial civilization, which is millions of years ago, left behind intelligent, non-human remnants that operate in a secret domain, so within the deep ocean or beneath the crust of the Earth.
I've heard that people think that the core of the Earth is actually an alien spacecraft or an alien world, and we've just been built around it on purpose.
That's pretty cool.
And that's why it's protected by lava, so that we can't get to it. But apparently entrances are both in Antarctica and the Arctic, and that's why it's really difficult, or particularly the one that hasn't been explored. I think it's Antarctica.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been explored, like nowhere near as much as the Arctic has.
Yeah.
So apparently there's an entrance there.
It wouldn't surprise me.
Elon Musk even said so.
Yeah. And John Carpenter in The Thing said so.
Yeah.
So
also don't believe Elon Musk, but yeah.
No, don't. And there's finally the interdimensional hypothesis, so the IDH, which UAPs are not vehicles from another planet, but a phenomena originating from a different dimension or reality that occasionally intersects with ours. And this theory attempts to explain the inconsistent and often bizarre and occasionally physiological nature of some close encounters. And the objects don't follow the rules of physics because they're not fully constrained by our three spatial dimensions. So 1D, 2D, 3D. So they're very, very interesting, far more interesting than the sort of prosaic explanations.
Yeah,
I think
100% more interesting. And then with that last one, the IDH, that's basically saying that the multiverse is real.
Essentially. And it sometimes gets cracks through.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite an interesting set of theories.
A lot to think about. With the multiverse one, with the IDH one, that is also a conspiracy theory about deja vu as well, to say that it's already happening in a universe that mirrors ours, and that's why you have deja vu of, I've done this before. It's because you have done it before, and you're doing it right now in that moment. It's just a different version of you that's doing it.
Amazing. I love these theories. We could go on, but
we'll
leave it with that.
All good things must come to an end.
We'll
just
leave
like
it
Mystic Matter.
With our Mystic Matter section for this episode. But talking about very strange phenomena and things that are very unexplained and disappear suddenly, that moves us on to the Isle of Fright.
For this episode's Isle of Fright, we have the kind of infamous case on the Isle of Wight known as, prepare for the creepiest name that you might ever hear in your life, and familiar, Sam, the Sandown clown.
Yeah, that is me. I'm an alien. Yes. Yes.
You
Debunked.
wish you were an alien.
Debunked. One of your haunted hosts here is an alien. That's why we haven't done a face reveal yet.
Yep, exactly.
Or if you'd be clever enough to go on Instagram, you'd know that we are existing people and we are real and humans.
But yes, Sam is an alien, and he has another brother called Sam who is the Sandown clown.
Yes, my brother Sam, the Sandown clown.
So,
which is a very, like you said, a very infamous
It is a really famous case on the Isle of Wight, and it didn't even happen that long ago. It happened in 1973.
Yeah, so, fairly decent amount of time, but not ages ago in the grand scheme of like...
our parents were alive.
Of course they were, yeah.
And they knew about it.
So in the grand scheme of things, this was like, recent in terms of like alien theories.
So let's get into it a little bit, shall we?
Oh.
So, the Sandown clown incident. It happened on Tuesday afternoon in May 1973 near the Sandown golf links on the Isle of Wight. So, it's basically the golf course, which is kind of near the beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
it's
like... on
Pretty
the edge of the
close to the
island.
coast.
Sandown is a very lovely beach.
Very lovely.
If you come
beach.
here, definitely go and visit it.
Absolutely.
But maybe not in May.
Not in May.
So the story follows as this. There is a 7-year-old girl called Faye and also a young boy who is with her, but his name isn't disclosed. They were both witnesses who were drawn to the location of the incident by a weird ambulance siren-like wailing noise.
Very interesting.
When they got to said location, they were being pointed to a large writing that read, "Hello, and I am all colours Sam."
It just creeps me out straight away.
Yeah, that's a
Don't like
really
that.
weird way to say. It sounds like something an alien would say if they're trying to like learn the English language, you know?
Yeah, just disgusting.
Yep. So it says that Sam was initially trying to retrieve a book from a brook, and the children watched him. Eventually, they went with him to his metallic hut. The interaction was described as good-natured, as the children weren't scared or harmed, but it left quite a little hold and shake on the nation,
Very much so.
essentially. I mean, how would you feel if like a 7-year-old and their friend were basically abducted by this weird alien thing called Sam,
Sam,
who
the Sandown clown.
who looked like a clown,
Yeah.
and called themselves All Colours Sam?
If you look on our Instagram, by the time this episode's out, tomorrow, on the date of after the episode releasing, there'll be a little reel that sort of depicts what the clown looks like. So keep an eye out on there for the Sam the Sandown clown.
Yeah.
At Badbury Productions.
And for those of you that are going to be lazy and are going to head over to our Instagram, here's a little description for you. So, he was nearly 7 feet tall, which
Crazy height.
is quite
Especially
scary.
as a 7-year-old looking
Yeah.
up something 7 foot. It's like, Christ.
He had no discernible neck, and the head was kind of wedged straight onto his shoulders because of that.
Yeah.
So just completely
No.
head into shoulders, no neck, Mr. Sam.
I wonder what shampoo he uses. Head and Shoulders. If you guys don't know what that is. So he had very white skin, as depicted by the description, and his face featured unusual triangular markings for his eyes and motionless yellow lips. He had 3-fingered blue gloved hands and 3-toed white feet, and he wore a yellow pointed hat, a green tunic with a red collar, and white trousers. It just, in my head, it's like I can't even comprehend what that looks like. But I've
Yeah.
seen images and
Bro
it's
is
really
not
disturbing.
fashionable.
He's not fashionable. He's like just slinging on clothes.
Also, if you're going to come to Earth, why choose to be a clown?
And why Sandown?
Why Sandown as well? Yeah.
Who knows?
Should be called Sand Clown.
Sand clown. Yeah, sand clown
Sand Clown, not Sandown.
with clown. But anyways, he had very unnatural behaviour and elements to his demeanour. And he walked in a very high stepping manner, so very knee-high sort of marching type thing. And regarding communication, Sam initially spoke via a black knobbed microphone without moving its lips,
Ooh.
and performed a baffling berry eating trick. So this was described by placing a berry in its ear and having it appear at its eye and then mouth, and claimed it could purify river water. And 2 workmen nearby during the encounter reportedly saw nothing, suggesting that the event may have occurred in a separate reality bubble.
That is absolutely mortifying.
That's crazy. And the fact that there was missing witnessing to that. Again, either there was the idea that they were abducted, the kids,
Yeah.
or that, you know, they were witnessing something in a different dimension and time froze, for example. So that's just mental to me.
It is completely mental. And it gets more mental. So the metallic hut that was described in the story was basically just a metallic shed that had no windows at all. It contained a wooden chair and a fire, and the walls were wallpapered with a blue and green pattern of dials, which suggests a possible alien navigation system. During this, Sam claimed that he had just made the hut and that others like him existed.
That's scary. I don't want other Sam the Sandown clown.
I kind of do.
duplicates. I mean, I'd want to see it,
Yeah.
but I don't know what would happen.
No.
I'd want to photograph it because it's, you know, us at Bad
It's
Boo,
crazy,
we're very
though,
interested
to
in
claim
just
that he's
this
not the
stuff,
only
but
one as well.
I know, not the only clown-esque looking metallic alien.
So we might be alone, but Sam isn't.
Sam certainly isn't. And this Sam very much is.
Hey, I'm right here.
But the investigated hypothesis was that the case defies easy categorization, leading investigators to explore multiple theories for Sam's identity overall. It could have been a ghostly encounter, so a spirit only perceptible to certain individuals. It could have been a costumed figure or a hoax, so a peculiar person in disguise or an elaborate prank, which would have been quite weird with everything that came with that.
To be fair, those first true ideas do kind of make sense, because if it was going to be a spirit, kids do see spirits, so the fact that they were 7 kind of makes sense.
It certainly does. So, you know, any elaborate prank or strange person could be certainly dressing up in disguise to, you know, do all sorts that God knows what it could be.
Yeah.
And again, like we were illustrating earlier, and what the whole episode is about, it could certainly be an extraterrestrial being. So due to the non-human anatomy that is described, and the advanced technology and strange behaviour, it very much points towards something that is alien life. So yeah, that's pretty creepy. It's also described regarding the extraterrestrial life that it could be a frightened, alienated outsider, so a marginalised individual whose appearance was misinterpreted. Again, pointing more towards that sort of alienation of somebody or someone that was very different, or an outsider, whether it's from our planet or not.
Which is kind of sad, to be fair.
It is. There's also the theory that it could be like an Alice in Wonderland type dream or powerful hallucination that the children were experiencing.
But it was both of them, though. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I know there was a drawing, I believe, that one of the kids did, or that someone did after the description, and it very much fit what both of them were individually saying. And this is the very peculiar one, and you can take this as you like, that it could have been a celebrity connection. Then this is a very speculative link to Ringo Starr or David Essex, who were filming nearby in 1973. Which I thought was quite an interesting little one to put in there.
That's just crazy.
I don't think that Ringo Starr of the Beatles or David Essex would say, I've got a hut.
Come with me.
Come with me, marching around,
And
doing this in
Sandown.
Sandown.
Like me. Yeah.
And there's more people like me. I think that's a little bit crazy, and it wasn't really a publicity stunt for any type of thing. So, yeah, that is Sam the Sandown Clown. A little bit of a strange story. It's apparently very infamous across the, you know, astrobiology world, and they've still got people that meet today to try and decipher what it was, because they still don't know. So go and check out Bad Boo Productions on Instagram and TikTok, and you can see what it looks like.
And that's not the only alien story that we have for you today, as we're going to head into our Boo or Bust. So today's Boo or Bust is called We Found Alien Pods Under the Ice in Antarctica, which relates to the theory that I was just talking about, actually.
And the thing, which we were speaking about.
And the thing, yeah. This is a Reddit story from the user Divine Anime 1, and it's on the No Sleep Reddit, and it was posted just over a year ago.
As you know from our previous few Boo or Busts, we've been very much leaning into the old No Sleep subreddit, because they're great. They're great to decipher whether it's real or not.
They really are
depending
great.
on our topic.
So
without further ado,
let's get into it. When we first arrived at Halverston Station, Antarctica was everything I'd expected. White, endless, and utterly lifeless. The snow stretched forever in every direction, a blank slate under a grey sky. The silence was the worst part. It wasn't peaceful. It was oppressive, like the whole continent was holding its breath, waiting for something to break the stillness. Our mission was simple, at least on paper. Drill deep into the ice core and extract samples for climate data. But the ice doesn't give up its secrets easily. It groaned and cracked underfoot, shifting in ways that felt too deliberate for something inert. Adrian joked that it was a living thing, and we laughed. But by the second week, none of us were laughing anymore.
The team was small, just the four of us. Adrian Falk, the biologist, was as excitable as a kid in a candy store, always bounding ahead with questions and theories. Natalie Reyes, the geologist, was quieter but sharp, her observations cutting through Adrian's chatter. Mark Toland, the engineer, was a gruff, practical guy who seemed to hate everything about the cold. And then there was me, Dr. Elaine Carter, a climatologist who should have stayed in my warm office analysing data instead of chasing it across the most desolate place on Earth. The day we found the cavern started like any other, bitter cold, the drilling rig groaning under the strain and the constant hum of the wind battering our temporary shelter. I remember Natalie shouting something, her voice muffled by the layers of fabric wrapped around her face.
"We've hit something."
"What kind of something?" Mark asked, stomping over.
"It's not ice, it's hollow." I felt the first flicker of unease then, but I pushed it aside. We weren't treasure hunters or conspiracy theorists. Hollow pockets in the ice weren't unheard of. Melt layers, volcanic activity, even ancient lakes. But when the drill broke through, releasing a burst of warm, humid air, the ease turned into dread. Warm air. That didn't belong here.
It took hours to widen the hole enough to lower a camera. The image that came back wasn't clear at first, just shadows and glints of light. But as the camera adjusted, the feed showed something none of us could explain. A cavern, massive and unnatural, its walls glowing faintly with streaks of blue and green bioluminescence. And in the centre, arranged in perfect rows, were pods, organic, translucent, and each easily 8 feet tall.
Adrian was the first to break the silence. "That's not natural."
"Nothing about this is," I said, my throat dry.
Against my better judgment, we went down. The cavern was massive, the air thick and humid, a stark contrast to the frozen wasteland above. The walls pulsed faintly, a soft light illuminating the row of pods. They looked alive, their translucent membranes slick with condensation. Inside, vague shapes were curled into fetal positions, humanoid but wrong. Their limbs were too long, their heads too large, and their faces featureless. "Dear God," Natalie whispered, her breath fogging the air. "What is this place?"
Adrian approached one of the pods, his gloved hand hovering inches from the surface. "They're embryonic, developing." His voice was filled with awe, like a child discovering a long-lost toy. Mark grunted.
"Developing into what? Let's pack it up and get the hell out of here."
But Adrian wasn't listening. He pressed his hand against the pod, and that's when it happened.
The pod shuddered beneath his touch, emitting a low hum that vibrated through the cavern. It wasn't a sound, it was a feeling, a deep resonance that thrummed in my chest and made my teeth ache. The others felt it too. I could see it in their wide eyes and the way they flinched. "Did it just react to you?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper.
"It's alive," Adrian said, almost reverent. "We should have left then. I know that now. But we didn't. We were scientists, and scientists don't run from discoveries. They document them, analyse them, and explain them. Or at least that's what I told myself as we set up equipment and took samples."
That night, the first whisper came. It wasn't loud. In fact, I wasn't sure I'd heard it at all. Just a faint murmur on the edge of my perception. But it was enough to wake me up, my heart racing in the dark.
"Adrian?" I called out, my voice trembling. No answer. I stepped into the main room of the station and found him standing by the window, staring out at a hole that we drilled.
"What are you doing?"
He turned slowly, his face pale and his eyes glassy. "I heard them."
"Heard who?"
"The pods. They're calling."
I stared at him, dread pulling in my stomach. "You're just tired. Get some sleep."
But he didn't sleep. None of us did. Over the next few days, things escalated. The pod's hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls and into our heads. the others started acting strange. Adrian became obsessed, spending hours in the cavern, muttering to himself. Natalie grew paranoid, accusing Mark and me of hiding things from her. Mark, always the skeptic, started snapping at everyone, his temper boiling over at the smallest things.
And then there were the hallucinations. At first, they were fleeting shadows in the corner of my eye, voices that sounded like my own but weren't. Then they became vivid. I saw my mother, long dead, standing at the edge of the cavern, her face twisted in pain. I heard her voice telling me to leave, to bury the pods before it was too late. I wasn't the only one seeing things. Natalie screamed one night, claiming Adrian had attacked her, but when we confronted him, he was curled up in his bunk, shaking and crying.
"They're waking up," he whispered. "They're waking up, and they're in our heads." The first pod ruptured on the 5th day. I was in the cavern with Adrian when it happened. The membrane split with a wet dripping sound, spilling a dark, viscous liquid onto the floor. The creature inside unfolded itself, its body twitching and shuddering. It was incomplete. Its skin pale and patchy, its limbs too long, its face blank. But it moved, dragging itself towards us with a jerky, unnatural motion.
"Run." Adrian breathed, his face white with terror. I didn't need to be told twice. The station was falling apart, and so were we. The creatures had started coming up from the cavern hours ago. At least, I think it had been hours. Time didn't feel real anymore. The hum was louder, vibrating in the walls, in my skull, making it almost impossible to think straight. Every shadow felt alive, every corner too dark. Natalie was gone. One minute she was in the lab frantically trying to burn a sample we'd taken from the pods. The next she was screaming, running into the storm outside. I saw her shape vanish into the white and I knew she wasn't coming back.
Mark was still in the control room when I found him, shouting into the radio, "Mayday! Halverson Station, emergency evac, repeat, emergency evac, do you copy?" Static hissed back at him. The hum was eating the signal, warping it into something unintelligible. For a second, I thought I heard words in the static, faint whispers, like the ones I heard in the cavern.
"They're not coming," I said, my voice trembling. He spun around, his face pale, his eyes wild.
"We can't just wait here to die."
"No one's waiting," I snapped. "We're leaving now." He nodded, grabbing his emergency bag, but as we headed for the exit, the lights flickered. Then they went out completely, plunging us into darkness.
And then we heard it, the slow, wet sound of something dragging itself down the hallway. Mark grabbed the flashlight, the beam slicing through the dark, but only made things worse. The thing coming towards us was too big, too wrong. It was one of the creatures, but it wasn't like the others. This one had finished growing. Its pale skin stretched tight over the jagged bones, and its limbs impossibly long, tipped with clawed fingers that scraped against the walls. Its head was featureless, except for two black pits where the eyes should have been.
"Run!" Mark shouted, shoving me towards the emergency exit. It lunged. I heard him scream, a sickening crunch as it slammed into him. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I stumbled out into the snow, the storm swallowing me whole.
The wind was a knife against my skin, the cold so intense it felt like my lungs were freezing with every breath. The storm howled, whipping the snow into blinding blur. I couldn't see the station anymore. It was just me and the endless white. But I wasn't alone.
I could still hear the hum, louder now, as if it was inside my head, and over it, faint and distant, I heard my name. Elaine. I turned, squinting into the storm. I saw a figure staggering towards me through the snow. At first I thought it was Mark. He was alive. He'd gotten out, but as it got closer, I saw its movements weren't right. Too stiff, too mechanical. Then I realised it wasn't Mark. It wasn't even human.
I ran, my legs burning, my lungs screaming for air. The creature behind me didn't follow. It didn't need to. Its voice was in my head now, whispering things I didn't understand, but somehow felt true. "You were chosen. You belong to us."
I don't remember how long I ran. Hours, maybe. The storm didn't let up, and the cold was dragging me down. Every step was harder than the last. I was so sure I was going to die out there. But then, through the white, I saw lights, faint and flickering, but real. It was the rescue team. They found me half buried in snow, babbling nonsense, my body on the verge of shutting down. I don't remember much of what happened after that. Just flashes being carried onto the helicopter. Someone shouting orders, and the hum still ringing in my ears even as they wrapped me in blankets.
When I woke up in a hospital bed, they told me I'd been the only survivor. The station was gone, collapsed into a crevasse during the storm. There was no sign of Mark or Natalie, and no evidence of the cavern. I wanted to believe it was over, that I'd escaped. But now, sitting here in the safety of my apartment, far from the ice, I know that's not true. I still hear the hum. Quiet, faint, always at the edge of my hearing. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see them. The pods, the creatures, the cavern.
And I know they're not buried. Not really. They're in me.
So there we go.
Dun dun dun.
That is the end of the story titled We Found Alien Pods Under the Ice in Antarctica.
My question is, what happened to Adrian?
Yeah. Some characters went missing. AWOL.
Yeah.
Done. Yeah. A very interesting story that pulled from the old deep dark subreddit of the Reddit No Sleep. Really interesting story. Very much reminds me of The Thing. And it's very plausible, like we were saying earlier about Antarctica being very unexplored and
100%.
Perhaps being a cover-up for certain conspiracies or government tests and trials and things that they've discovered, or even, like you said, a gateway to the centre of the Earth. So the question that we always ask is, do you think this is a boo or a bust?
I think it's a boo, but they needed to bust the hell out of there.
That's a good one.
And they didn't.
I like that. I think it's a boo as well, personally. I think that it seems very particular in what it's saying, and the story is very dark, and it's very believable because scientists and astrobiologists and researchers and anyone collecting data will always go out to places like Antarctica because it's so vast and unexplored and, apocalyptic almost, because there's nothing there. That
it's just desolate.
I don't think that it's right for anybody to say it's not true when it's not been an explored place.
Yeah.
It'd be different if you said,
I've been to Antarctica and I didn't see your base, so I know it's not true. Blah, 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 blah.
Or people saying, the story was set around Big Ben in London. It was like, well, everyone's been around Big Ben. That didn't happen because I was there at that time. So I think it's a boo for the plain sake of we haven't explored Antarctica enough as people to know whether there is anything strange going on there. So to us, it's a boo. Obviously, the link's in the description below. Go and check it out if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, go head over to YouTube to the link, or just look it up on Reddit and let us know what you think. Is it a boo or a bust?
If you are a scientist or anybody that needs to go to any of these cold climates, just don't go. Leave the polar bears alone.
Perhaps change your career.
Leave the penguins alone.
Leave the penguins alone. So
go to England in the winter. It's cold enough there.
Absolutely. So do not explore anything you don't know too much of. But talking about things and some scientists and some astronomers that explored things a little bit too much, that had some very drastic consequences.
And in desolate places.
That leaves us on to the Silver Scream.
For this week's Silver Scream, as we usually do, we've got a little movie quote for you, and I'm so sorry, but I did actually ruin it for you at the beginning of the episode.
If you are not paying attention, then
you can listen to it this time.
You can listen to it again, but you might not know where it's from.
No.
But somehow, I won't believe you if you didn't know what it was from. But as we always do, we ask you to listen to the quote, timestamp it in YouTube or in the comments on our Spotify, and say whether you got it right.
Yeah. Pause the video right now. Go to the comments and prepare yourself to comment what film you think it is, and then on your way back up, subscribe and turn the post notification bell on. Please. And then continue watching the video.
And share it around with your nan. I'm sure your nan's seen this film.
Your nan might have seen an alien before.
Yeah, so
ask her if she's seen the Sandown clown. She would have been alive in the 70s.
Maybe she was Faye, the girl.
Maybe it was Ringo Starr.
Maybe Ringo Starr. But anyway, here is the quote for you. Very short, very sweet, but very iconic. So here you go.
In space, No one can hear you scream.
There we go. See if you know what that is. Let us know. But if you haven't guessed already, and possibly our most iconic quote, which is the slogan of the movie, it is the infamous Alien.
From 1979.
So there we go. What a beautiful film.
It is absolutely amazing. So for those of you
masterpiece
that do not know, Alien was released in 1979 and it is a British-American science fiction horror masterpiece which is directed by the infamous Ridley Scott. It launched one of cinema's most enduring franchises.
Very much so. It's, I think that to some people's respect, we are enduring, unfortunately, some pretty poor Alien content that's coming out now.
We definitely are, unfortunately.
But I mean, back in in the late 70s and the 80s with Aliens, even in retrospect, the sequels are pretty good. I think they add to the Alien lore quite nicely. So the film is renowned for blending the isolation and technological realism of science fiction with the suspense and terror of a horror film, creating a distinctive and intensely claustrophobic experience. So coming out of the 70s, I mean, 2 years prior, you had Star Wars, which was like the science fiction. I'm really glad she sung that spot on, because otherwise people were probably coming at us. So Star Wars being the science fiction boom, 2 years prior, very much a world of sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So cinema was very science fiction, like in the 70s.
It was plunged into the right era.
But Alien twisted that around and merged those scientific semiotics with horror.
And gore.
And oh, what a masterful film it created.
So, for those of you that do not know, and if you have been living under a rock, here is the plot summary for you. The film Alien follows the crew of a commercial spacecraft called Nostromo. While investigating a mysterious signal found on an uncharted planetoid, crew member Kane is attacked by a parasitic organism, or the facehugger. Once back on the ship, the resulting offspring of the facehugger, the deadly, rapidly growing creature known as a xenomorph, violently bursts from Kane's chest and escapes into the ship.
Great scene. Iconic.
Then, the monster begins to systematically stalk and kill the crew in the dark, in claustrophobic corridors. Warrant Officer Ellen Ripley discovers that the company intentionally sent them to retrieve the creature, valuing the specimen over the lives of the crew. After revealing and destroying the synthetic crew member, or the android known as Ash, who was protecting the alien, Ripley escapes the exploding Nostromo aboard a small shuttle. I'm going to end it there because I will ruin the film if I keep reading the plot summary, but go and watch it.
Please go and watch Alien. It's a staple film.
Alien.
Yeah, if you don't know how it's spelled, it's like Alan, but with an I instead of the second L.
Yes.
So if you're spelling Alan like that. So yeah, there's the little bit of the plot summary. Go and check it out, obviously. So regarding the film's influence and legacy, it was a genre blender. So it was very much sci-fi and horror, as we said, blended together. And like previously mentioned, before Alien, science fiction films were largely focused on very elegant voyages, like 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, or fantastical adventures like Star Wars. Horror was very much rooted in slasher flicks or supernatural stories. So you have your Halloween and Texas Chainsaw and The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I know Texas Chainsaw wasn't supernatural, but it was very much slasher kind of flick. Where, on the contrary, Alien was a revolutionary movie because it seamlessly fused the genres together,
creating a completely new genre of itself, known as sci-fi horror.
Absolutely.
It quickly gained the nickname of the haunted house in space, with director Ridley Scott deliberately crafting a claustrophobic and suspenseful monster movie set against the backdrop of deep space. The film's pacing is a very much a slow burner horror film, but the creature is rarely seen in full, which completely relies on shadows and silence to generate maximum terror.
It does. You just never know when it's coming.
And it's one of those amazingly done films where, as much as it is a slow burner, it doesn't feel like it's slow.
It's like enduring.
Yeah, it's not slow at all. You're engaged the entire time, and it's just excellently done.
There's no sort of like let off of like tension.
No.
It sort of builds, and there's no like kind of, okay, we can relax for a bit now.
Yeah.
It's permanent.
It
Especially
really is permanent.
Till the end, you sort of think, okay, and then something happens again. You're like, oh shit.
It is very anxiety inducing, and
Very
even
much
more
so.
so is the game that came after this is even more anxiety inducing.
Alien Isolation, talking about Alien Isolation, which came out in 2014, I believe. Still holds up graphically today very well. And actually last year they announced a sequel was in the works.
Oh, really?
Which I'm so excited for because I've broken 2 of my headsets from that game. One of them was an in-ear one, and I jumped so hard that the earpiece was still in my ear and it looked like I was wearing AirPods. But all of my good old friends on the PlayStation, if you're listening to this, will remember the incidents very well.
Yes.
So anyway, the film Alien taps very much into the dread of H.P. Lovecraft's cosmic horror. So this is the fear of encountering vast, indifferent and utterly unknowable alien life forms whose very existence defies human comprehension. So it's very much a cosmic horror that we had to endure, and it was very, very frightening. Because, again, space is infinitely long.
Yeah.
Being on a shuttle in the middle of it, you can't go anywhere. No one's going to hear you scream. You're screwed, essentially.
Yeah, 100%. So just a little bit of info about the film originally. It was originally meant to be called Star Beast.
It sounds crap.
Does sound,
no one would go and watch Star Beast.
Sounds shit, in my opinion. However, screenwriter Dan O'Bannon changed it to Alien because it worked more powerfully as both a noun as an adjective.
So it was both a noun and an adjective. Essentially, if you don't know English very well, it was a name, it named the creature,
and a describing word
and
for
an
the
adjective,
creature.
it described what it is, because we don't know what the hell it is.
Nope.
So it's very clever, very short.
We don't know what it is,
sharp.
but we do know what an adjective is.
Yes, or you might not. But director Ridley Scott was the studio's 5th choice to direct the film. So, again, amongst all of these interesting trivia that we pulled for the episode, that's something I didn't know.
I didn't know that either.
I mean, I don't think anybody could have done it any better. I mean, Stanley Kubrick could have done something interesting, perhaps, but I don't think it would have been like Ridley Scott's masterpiece, which is Alien.
No.
At all. It would have been a very different film, and I don't think it would have been as good, personally. So,
the iconic xenomorph creature was designed by a Swiss surrealist artist known by the name of H.R. Geiger. The distinct look for the head of the creature was actually cast from a real human skull.
We were on the way to Lidl, a supermarket in the UK, where...
And across Europe.
Very much so. That I actually said this to Jodie when I found that out. And
I said, what the fuck?
Yeah, we're pretty flabbergasted by it.
Excuse my language.
Another bit of fun fact, which is probably very iconic. The cast, except from John Hurt, rest in peace, who played Kane, was deliberately kept in the dark about the graphic nature of the chestburster scene, which has been reiterated and, reinterpreted and, nodded to in many, many films. But anyway, the cast's blood-splattered reactions in the scene were genuinely shock and surprise because they had no idea that was going to happen because Ridley Scott kept it from them.
That's brilliant.
So all of their reactions, which I think is just so cool when you rewatch it if you've seen already, go and watch that scene. If go on YouTube after the podcast, please, and go and check the chestburster scene and look at the other cast reaction set from John Hurt, who's the one that's having the alien come out of him.
So good.
Because that'd have been a bit of a surprise for him if he didn't know that somehow. But yeah, great, like raw reactions.
Yeah.
Because adds to the whole terror of the film.
It just is imperative in filmmaking because you want authentic acting.
Yeah, and it very much. I mean, all the actors in that film were brilliant anyway, but that was very authentic because it was real.
100%. And just going back to the creature's look a little bit, the creature's terrifying and slimy aesthetic was achieved by using really simple materials like KY jelly, and various animal intestines were used for the guts that burst out of Kane's chest.
That's very interesting.
That is very interesting. So they weren't even fake guts, they were real guts.
Real guts.
Ugh.
Very much so. And the film introduced the used future aesthetic to sci-fi, where like it's a universe where spaceships look dirty and worn and industrial, like a space oil tanker or a factory rather than a utopian starship like you would see in Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars has its fair share of, used spaceships and spacecraft only because of like the rebellion and stuff. But in terms of like 2001 The Space Odyssey, where it's all very white and clean and crispy, and sci-fi that came before it, it's all very much, this is the future. It's all very crisp and sanitized and white and fresh.
This gave a much more like real, like dirty, like lived
realism
in
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like humans have been here, and you can tell because it's dirty and it's gross.
Yeah, exactly.
So leading on from that, we then have the infamous tagline of "In space, no one can hear you scream," which, as famous and as chilling as it is, it was actually conceived by a copywriter with the name of Phil Gibbs. So it wasn't even originally meant for the film.
No, as a copywriter.
Yeah.
Which is interesting as well. And again, it's probably one of horror films' most iconic phrases in terms of catchphrases / slogans / taglines for the film.
And if you want to know about more things that aren't meant for the film that they were used in, go and watch our Demons episode again, where we talk about tubular bells.
Tubular bells with The Exorcist.
Dum, 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 dum.
There you go, Jodie's iteration of the tubular bells. There we go. Tubular Jodies. Anyway, the script originally called for the protagonist Ripley to be a man, and the producers changed the character to a woman, ultimately creating one of cinema's greatest female action heroes in history, which I knew that fact ages ago because I think my grandpops, so one of my grandparents, actually told me that.
Oh, really?
That years ago, when he first showed me the trailer, which I was absolutely terrified of at the time, because it's such a chilling trailer. It doesn't give too much away, but you're basically cooked and entered the tagline. That Ripley was originally going to be a man, and they changed it to a woman.
Ooh.
Which is really great and really interesting. And I can't ever imagine it being a man. Like,
no.
It just
can't
suits.
At all. It wouldn't have hit the same if it was a man.
No, absolutely not. And like we say, I cannot imagine the film being without Sigourney Weaver. It's what made her.
Yeah.
And she's brilliant in it because she's so like brutal, and she's very much a leader.
Yeah, she's like a complete force of her own, like a force to be reckoned with in this film.
And I think that it did very much, very good for like female representation in film as well.
Yeah.
So
100%.
I think that overall it was a brilliant choice, and and the alien itself actually being a female, so it's like a bit of a bitch fight going on. So yeah, but brilliant, cracking.
Yeah.
Cracking film, cracking characters. Anyway,
it really, really very much is. And as for some specifics about the scenes that we do see in the film, for the infamous scene where the xenomorph's inner jaws like actually shoot out, the effect was created using a compressed air-powered plunger and a cast out of the head where the teeth that was fired indirectly at the camera.
That's interesting. I mean, I know it was using compressor because it was like a proper, like fast thing, because it's obviously supposed to punch through people's faces essentially. Yeah. That's quite cool, like an air-powered plunger and a cast of like the head and teeth that was fired directly at the camera because it's an iconic shot.
Yeah.
Also, the massive fossilized pilot, which is found in the derelict ship, otherwise known as the Space Jockey, was so large that the set had to be constructed on the biggest soundstage at Shepperton Studios,
which is near where I grew up.
Yes, so this is Pinewood, and the bones were made out of fiberglass and plaster. I mean, That thing is massive in the film. It's when they're exploring the derelict ship on the planet before they encounter the eggs, and there's that massive giant sitting in the chair in the spaceship. That's crazy.
And for those of you that don't know, Shepperton Studios is one of the biggest and largest film studios in the entirety of the UK, and they're still expanding it now, actually.
It's crazy.
Just before I moved, they expanded it and got like Netflix hangars over there as well.
That's mad.
And when I say hangar, what people used to like store aeroplanes in during the war, like those huge kind of like factory looking buildings, they're called hangars, and nowadays they are used for film studios.
That's mad.
Yeah.
It's so mad.
But that's what they would have had to build this in, like the largest hangar that they had.
Possible.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely insane.
So it just shows how big the sets were, and it's amazing practical effects.
Yeah.
That's where the movie magic comes from.
Yeah. And they really go so much further than what they do with
CGI
like,
and
CGI.
Stuff.
Another fun and little interesting fact is the flight attendant style jacket that is worn by Ripley for the majority of the film actually costs nearly nothing, and that's because the costume designer simply brought a handful of really cheap leather jackets and washed them repeatedly with a stone to give them that really worn and used like futuristic look.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
So it's a similar like to the Halloween situation where it was just like a very cheap wardrobe going on.
Go and check out our
But
Halloween
they gave
episode.
us not only some of the biggest horror icons in history, but some of the biggest female protagonists in film history, let alone horror history.
Ellen Ripley is certainly one of the biggest film characters, especially in horror. And I think probably alongside Halloween certainly paved the way for the old Scream Queen / Final Girl trope that went on, which
100%.
you know, it can be argued either way as, you know, strong empowerment or, you know, using for appeal, but it doesn't matter, you know, in whatever way you perceive it. Alien was very much not in a sexual appeal way. It was very much empowering Ellen Ripley. So go and check out the Halloween episode if you haven't already, where we say about the costumes and that, and some very interesting facts about Halloween. So yeah, go and check that out. Also, the famous facehugger scene where the creature is revealed to be made of acid blood was added specifically to satisfy the studio's demand for a scene that explained why the crew couldn't simply shoot the alien and risk damaging the ship's hull. So, I mean, very simple, but became iconic because, you know, they described the alien essentially as being quite unkillable. And especially you see that in Aliens, which is the sequel, that they say about how it's just completely like, you know, doesn't matter what you do to it.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it.
Blood on it, you know, blood on yourself, you are dead, essentially. So
you are die.
You are die.
Then we have the android's milk, which for those of you that don't know, in the film, the android gets slashed and his blood is effectively a very milk-looking liquid. But for that scene, when Ash is essentially decapitated, and the fluid begins spewing out, the white substance was actually a mixture of milk, yogurt, and pasta. The tube that was pumping the mixture was prone to clogging, and so they often had to do multiple takes, but they just tried to make the mixture as like slimy as possible so that it was easier to get down that tube.
That's, I mean, milk, it definitely looked like milk, but like pasta. Must be for like, you know, the insides of his voice. And he was obviously acted by Ian Holm, who also played old Bilbo Baggins in The Lord of the Rings. So, as a little fact for you Lord of the Rings fans, if you don't like The Lord of the Rings, never listen to our podcast again. So, regarding film techniques in Alien, starting off with the cinematography and the lighting, very much was crafted in a way to create atmosphere for the film. So for the cinematography and lighting, you often see low-key lighting being placed throughout the whole film, where Scott, who started his career as a commercial director, was meticulous with lighting, which when we watched it about a month ago last, that was one thing that Jodie particularly said, was about how the lighting is very, very amazing.
The lighting is amazing in that
film. And the film heavily uses these low-key lighting techniques to create a very high contrast between light and shadow, where large areas of the frame is very, very, very dark. But this technique hides the xenomorph within the frame making its attack sudden and increasing the suspense by forcing the audience to strain to see it. So often you're like looking, where is it? So it's like you're very much a part of the film and very much there with them because of the amazing lighting techniques.
It's so well thought out that they even knew that they were going to hide it in those frames just to make it even scarier for you when you're watching it.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely amazing. There was also the liberal use of smoke, haze and mist, which was used in almost every shot, particularly in the air vent scenes, or on the planetoid LV-426 scenes, just because it adds a sense of atmosphere, depth and isolation, which just even further obscures the alien and its surroundings.
Again, it's just that classic mist and fog or haze adds to that like suspense of not knowing where the alien is alongside
it just
this
adds to
lighting.
the whole mystery of the situation that's going on.
And Scott often used backlighting to give the ships and characters an intense, often sterile glow. So this would be lighting from behind the subject. And employed lens flares, which is essentially light reflecting off the camera lens, which just essentially when you're looking through a bit of film or a camera or a photograph, it's that little like orb looking thing that reflects off of like a very
when you're taking a
bright
picture
light
of the
source.
sun and you get loads of little circular rainbow looking like things all across the picture, that's a lens flare, and it's basically where the light is getting captured in the glass of the lens itself and it's refracting against the different pieces of glass and making those tiny little circles all across the image.
Absolutely.
But when it's used correctly, it can really emphasize the look that you're trying to go for.
Very much so. Become a very signature element of Ridley Scott's style.
Yeah.
So again, Alien is beautiful.
It really is. And especially for its time as well. Like, obviously it was made in the 70s, so it's not too old of a film, but in the rise of horror, it is a classic because it's still that kind of earlier time for producing and exploring these different genres. I mean, we've already established it made an entire genre by itself.
It did.
So to establish an entire genre by merging two already and then having it be so well done, like, Scott really set the bar high for anything that was going to come after him.
Bravo to Ridley Scott.
Yeah, bravo.
Amazing.
And not only on the cinematography and the lighting, but also on the set design and the scale, which we did like very gently touch on a minute ago. However, the interior of the Nostromo was built to feel like a really grubby, industrialized working environment, with the exposed wires, the dripping condensation, and the cramped corridors. They really grounded the fantastical elements in the realism of the film, making the terror more immediate and relatable. Because if you're working in like general physical industry stuff, if you're working around mechanics, if you're working around engineering, anything like that, you're going to encounter environments that are similar to this.
Hopefully not aliens.
Hopefully not aliens, no. But where they're grubby and they're small and they're quite metallic feeling and there's tools everywhere and buttons everywhere and all these different types of things, it's not that hard to come across nowadays.
No, very much not. And alongside it, Ridley Scott with his amazing talents famously used miniature sets, matte paintings and a clever use of scale. So like the matte paintings is very much something that's adopted in Star Wars. So for example, he even uses children in small spacesuits during the exterior and derelict ship sequences. And this technique created the illusion that the sets were massive and imposing without the need for large, expensive physical builds.
Yeah.
So very much great use of resources in film budgeting. And again, you just wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know, especially about the children. That's actually quite shocking.
It's a great way of bringing your children into it and say, so they can say,
bring your kid to work day, chuck them in a spacesuit.
Yeah, they're an alien. There you go. I was an alien as a child.
But another little thing about the sets is that they were also designed to be like mazes, essentially. So the tunnels, vents, and the long dark corridors were all staging techniques to make the ship itself feel like it was a trap, not only for the character, but also for the alien that was chasing after them. And it just perfectly facilitates the monster's hunting strategy at the end of the day.
So very much like, it was very much an enemy to all the characters, including the alien, because it wasn't easy for the alien to access them, but it was very much something that the alien
becomes accustomed to.
Capitalized on and knew that it was able to, have an advantage over, where it could crawl through the vents very quickly and just take them out one by one. So alongside this was the editing and the pacing,
which we don't usually touch on in this bit, but for this film it's really important.
Very much so. So there was very much a slow burn pacing, which we touched on earlier, where the first hour of Alien is deliberately slow. So Scott focused on the character interaction, atmosphere, and the unsettling mystery of the signal, which built the overwhelming suspense and dread before the horror strikes a bit later. And the audience has to wait for the reveal of the xenomorph, what it looks like, what the whole thing's about.
Which you do end up waiting for. Like I said again.
It's very much at the end you see it in its full.
I've got a really thin line when it comes to films being too long, and I've got a very, not small attention span, but if something's taking too long, I will just get distracted and I won't be bothered by it anymore.
Yeah.
But with this film, it had me hooked the entire time that I was watching it.
Keeps you engaged the entire time.
It really does.
The one major exception to the slow pacing, though, is the chest burster scene, where this moment is an extreme example of a shot cut. So this will be like a sudden, violent and unexpected image designed to maximise a very visceral audience reaction, and immediately shatters the built-up tension and shifts the film's genre decisively into horror, which is crazy.
It really is crazy.
Great little shift, because it's very much a very mysterious science fiction film solely. There's no horror elements, and then bam, the chest burster scene destroys that pacing. And it sets the whole rest of the film up for like this very grueling, intense experience.
It's the bit when you're on the edge of your seat, almost like you're trying to look over the alien yourself.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's happening? What is this? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, why is this guy lying down? Where has it gone?
Yeah.
And then, bam,
bam,
out of nowhere, you're like, oh my god, what is going on?
And the alien runs off.
Where is it? Don't know where it is. What did it do?
They all start getting picked off.
Is it alive? Is it dead? Is it gonna kill anybody else?
And that was that. So it's a brilliant technique.
And talking about the alien, we have a couple of little things about the practical effects and the creature's movement itself. So unlike many monster movies that use stop motion or animation, Ridley Scott actually opted for a human actor known as Bolaji Bandejo, who was in a xenomorph suit. And this decision basically just gave the creature's movements a disturbing, unnatural grace and physicality that CGI, which wasn't obviously yet viable at the time, but it could never have been replicated, even if it was with CGI, making the presence feel even more real than it already did.
Again, like we said in our last episode, Fairy Tales, which go and watch that one too, if you haven't already. We spoke about the fawn and the pale man being practical, and Guillermo del Toro using very much practical effects to set the film realism, and the actors and the actresses in front of the monster. This is another perfect example of a film that came out a little while before that adopted the same thing about how important it is to have a physical, monster in front of the actors.
Yeah, it gives them something real to interact with, and it really creates that scare that you're looking for. Is so difficult to make an audience feel as well as an actor when there isn't anything in front of them to actually be afraid of.
Yeah.
So when those emotions aren't naturally built up, it's so difficult to try and fake them. And obviously you can be an amazing actor and you can fake them, but it's a natural feeling at the end of the day. People are going to be able to tell.
Yeah.
So when you've got it in front of you and your actors can interact with that, it's so much better.
It is. So much better.
Just for authenticity, it just makes everything so much easier to do.
It makes the film better for everybody, I think. But the creature's head, which was created by Carlo Rambaldi and H.R. Geiger, was a sophisticated animatronic puppet, and it was operated by up to 6 technicians to control the inner jaw, teeth, and movements, and enhance the realism during close-ups without relying on post-production effects. So it's always good. I remember that's very much an important thing. Is the less you can do in post-production, the better, essentially. Because it leaves the editing bit a bit more simple. But again, it just makes it feel more believable, like you're saying.
Yeah.
Things that are there already. And, of course, to finalise this part, to simulate the vibrations and the damage of the ship, the camera was often slightly handheld or the sets were mechanically shaken, and this added a very subtle and unsettling realism to the environment, suggesting very much so that the Nostromo was constantly on the verge of breaking down. So nothing's safe in the film. We don't feel safe watching it, and it's just a masterpiece of suspense. And I don't think it can be really topped in terms of like such a visceral, grueling, enduring experience.
No, it really
such
can't.
As Alien.
And it's not even that you're not safe and that the actors aren't safe. You're not safe because in space no one can hear you scream.
Yeah, so
you're not safe. Everything isn't safe.
It just takes that whole horror sort of, ideology to a whole another level, essentially.
And another part of it that doesn't make you feel safe is, of course, one of the most crucial aspects to a horror film, the soundtrack. So that leads us to Shivering Soundtracks. So the soundtrack for Ridley Scott's Alien, 1979, like we just mentioned, was composed by a Mr. Jerry Goldsmith, who we have previously mentioned on here before. He is a musical master.
To Poltergeist. So you haven't seen a Poltergeist episode?
Go and watch that one.
Go and watch that one too. There's plenty to catch up on if you haven't already.
So it is a widely recognised tune for its haunting and avant-garde sparse orchestration, which masterfully builds tension and isolation, which just aligns perfectly with the film's haunted house in space aesthetic.
Yeah, very much so. It's very haunting, and I think it's very much one of Jerry Goldsmith's best. Very much established, amazing composer within the horror realm. Like you have The Omen and Poltergeist and Alien. So going into a little bit of the depths and scratching the surface of what makes the Shivering Soundtracks of Alien amazing is its very atonal and abstract sound.
Yeah.
Goldsmith very much avoided traditional heroic or sweeping orchestral themes, which are very popular through sci-fi.
Yeah.
And he instead used atonal clusters, dissonances, and electronic effects to create unease and psychological horror. And the music very rarely provides comfort or resolution at all. So it's very, it's not traditional at all.
No.
And the music is very, very sort of off kilter.
Yeah, and that's what I was just saying a second ago, is it's not only the visuals, it's not only the environment, it's not only the tagline, it is also the music, and honestly just every aspect of this film that makes you feel unsafe. Very
much so. And I think that sort of steering clear of the traditional orchestra that was, it's very, very much an orchestral soundtrack, because synthesizers were just breaking through at the minute. But he molds and bends the orchestra in ways that haven't really been heard yet. So again, masterpiece of a soundtrack, and this is very much achieved through the score's incredibly sparse sound, as Jodie mentioned a little bit earlier.
Well, that's just because of where he's used really long periods of silence, and it's broken by only really by sudden bursts of noise, which obviously is key to generating suspense, whether
Absolutely.
It's visual or audibly.
Yeah.
Because it's just a jump scare, but for your ears as well as your eyes.
It is very much so.
And that then leads to the music often fading to almost an inaudible level, but you still know it's there. Almost like the faint humming that we had in our Alien story just a few moments ago.
Indeed.
It really forces the audience to focus on the terrifying quiet, but it still it grips that bit of your stomach.
It does.
Just as you get to the top of the roller coaster before it's about to drop, and it's about to drop, but you don't know when.
It's just holding you on that very quiet, sudden, horrible little note. Just going back, atonal, if you guys don't know what that means, essentially just in a roundabout way, it just doesn't really fit to the key. And also it doesn't really fit to the rest of the sound, so it's very dissonant, very, off sounding.
Just very off-put.
So it just adds that discomfort overall.
Off-putting.
Very off-putting indeed. So the main theme, otherwise known as the Nostromo theme, is a very simple melancholic piece, which is played by a solo French horn, which is a piece of brass instrumentation over gentle strings and represents the loneliness and vastness of space and the crew's mundane journey before the horror begins. It is ironically beautiful, contrasting sharply the terrifying sounds of the alien. So it very much, again, puts you back into this very vast grandness of sci-fi and the ship. But also, I think it also contrasts to what the ship looks like in the atmosphere that they're in anyway, even before the 100%. Alien, jumps on board.
I also kind of feel like where the voice of Mother is so, like, quite dystopian, it's kind of like a dystopian voice that she has. I feel like the only thing that really fits in with that, along with the inside of the ship, because obviously it's quite futuristic in its appearance, as dirty as it is, it's really accompanied by the Nostromo theme. Those are like the three key elements that oppose the rest of the film being so, like, kind of aggressively scary.
So there is some let up of, like, it's not all terror, because otherwise you get bored.
But there's also, they all link it back to their original purpose on the ship in the first place.
Very much so.
And it really shows you, it just gives you that sense of kind of false security that the crew would have had as well. So it puts you in their shoes of, oh, this is associated with home, effectively, because it would have come from Earth and they would have made it there.
And I think it's very much representative of the fact that space is so scary but yet so beautiful. So that's why there's that pretty unique blend between the two.
100%. And that is all perfectly contrasted by the motif for the actual alien, like, horror theme, which is for the creature itself. And it's marked with, like, screaming strings and really low woodwind trills.
Which is like a brrrr sound.
Like what pigeons make, like a that bit.
A trill is like an up and down between two notes. A tremolo is like a brrrr on one, but trill is like a like that sort of thing going between two very quickly. So it's a very great technique, and like we said before about Jerry Goldsmith in our Poltergeist episode, that he's very much the master of the woodwinds. He uses the woodwinds like flutes and clarinets and oboes, and all your good old gang of woodwinds.
Bro likes to blow.
He does, and not in that way. And very deep percussive rumbling is present throughout the Aliens theme. And it's not a grand villain theme, but very much a sonic manifestation of predatory danger and the unknown.
So, just carrying on from the notes that we have made so far about the soundtrack, we, of course, have to talk a little bit about the orchestration and the instrumentation of the pieces. So, Goldsmith utilised several unconventional or treated instruments to achieve his really unsettling sonic palette for this film.
So throughout the production of the soundtrack, there was a wide use of very rarely used instruments. This included the serpent and the shakuhachi, which respectively were a large bass wind instrument for the serpent, and the shakuhachi was a Japanese bamboo flute, which was very, very interesting, which provided eerie, sort of very breathy and exotic textures, suggesting something ancient and alien. So very much, like we were saying earlier in our Mystic Matter section, saying about where the concept of aliens could have been something that's far sort of metaphysical than we could have thought, like through Egyptian culture or, regarding Stonehenge. That kind of exotic
feeling that it's already been here before.
That exotic feature certainly creates something very ancient. That's very much used within Nosferatu, the new version, where they use like old ancient brass to sort of ground it in that sort of the Count Orlok, in that very ancient history and past that he's derivative from.
Well, there was also the use of like really early synthesizers, which we mentioned a second ago.
They're just coming into use in the late 70s.
Much to the likes of Halloween as well, which I know we keep on mentioning, but it's just because it was like around the same time and it had very similar musical feelings. And obviously these synthesizers were used extensively to create the really like inhuman sounds and the metallic scraping noises and the unsettling, evolving drones throughout the entire film.
So drones essentially being just like long, atmospheric sort of sounds that don't really have a melody. They just sort of sit there and give you that sort of tension or feel.
And also an amazing album by Muse.
Yes, drones. Yes. Please go and listen to that. If you like your rock, it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
But yeah, basically Goldsmith frequently employed tape delay and echo on the synthesizers to make the sounds kind of float and dissipate like unnervingly as they started to play out.
Tape delays were very much like they were used obviously before obviously digital effects came in, but it would have been utilizing that sort of echoing, like delayed sort of feel to sounds,
like
or
a
echoes.
Reverb type of thing.
Yeah, it comes under the idea of a reverb and delay in that regard, is that reverb's the sound very much continuing in one sort of stretch, whereas a delay is like the sound coming back again in whatever way. So again, that sort of that sound floating about or dissipating unnervingly, and that sort of echoey like sound. It's like that's that space feel and that unsettling vibe.
Well, you're literally giving the sound space.
You are.
And that
is very much what it is.
Yeah.
On the dot. And the percussion usage in the film is often very primal and metallic, which can be very much seen to signify sudden attacks and the physical presence of the creature. So percussion is very important, obviously, as that sort of bass, that rhythm and that tone and the tempo that very much encapsulates the presence of the alien and the tension going on.
Yeah, 100%. However, there was also some controversy surrounding the soundtrack for the film. And what is a Bad Boot episode without a little bit of controversy?
There's been plenty of controversy.
This episode is filled with it.
This is contradictions and controversies, is what we might as well call it.
So the controversy for this film was actually that Goldsmith's original score was significantly re-edited and was even partially replaced in the final film by director Ridley Scott and the editor Terry Rawlings.
And for any composer, and some films that I've worked on, I'm not going to name who or what it was, I've had my soundtrack re-edited slightly to not be what it was intended. So that was pretty naff. And that was some films I did a little while back.
Well, not only is it extremely frustrating for the creator and the composer of the soundtrack, but it's also just you're putting work out there that hasn't been signed off by the person whose name is being put on it.
Exactly.
It's highly offensive in a way.
I find it very offensive.
It is very offensive.
It's like, it just tell me if it's not good enough. It's not how you wanted it. Tell me to do it again.
Yeah.
But Scott often preferred to use classical and existing music to score the key scenes, leading to several changes. For example, the film's iconic ending sequence features music by Howard Hanson, which is Symphony No. 2 called Romantic, replacing Jerry Goldsmith's original end title music, and music from Goldsmith's own earlier work called Freud, which is in 1962, was tracked into the film for certain scenes, notably in the Descent to the Planet sequence. So
even his own music was used kind of against him in this place.
He had like a music civil war going on. And despite the changes, Goldsmith's remaining score in the film, including the main themes and the unsettling tone-setting cues, remains highly effective and extremely iconic, as we've said before anyway. And it sets the standard for sci-fi horror scoring, beyond 1973 and into today. And the subsequent soundtrack release contains much of the music that was originally intended for the film, but was ultimately unused in the theatrical cut, unfortunately. So that was a bit of a shame.
It really is. I really want to know what his version sounded like now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's out there. So if any of you know where it is, so we can listen to it, that'd be great. But that is the end of the Shivering Soundtracks and the Alien 1979 masterful movie. Just brilliant. Go and watch it. And we'll leave the link in the description to the soundtrack anyway. An
absolutely amazing film.
It is. Please go and buy it on the best quality you can and enjoy the terror of the Nostromo.
And like we mentioned, where there was obviously some controversy around the actual soundtrack for the film, controversy leads to gossip, right?
It does.
So let's have a little gossip of our own in the ghostly gossip section. Welcome to the ghostly gossip portion of the episode.
Here we go.
This is usually where we talk about something that is a little bit questionable and
Controversial.
doesn't have a lot of fact behind it. And of course, it's got to be a controversy in this case, doesn't it? So
there's probably nothing more controversial
when you think
iconic
of aliens
in the alien extraterrestrial astrobiological world than the very thing we're going to speak about,
which is Area 51.
Indeed, here is the Area 51. So the base is officially known as Homey Airport or Groom Lake. So it's got quite interesting names there. Quite boring. Area 51 is a cool name.
It is a very cool name.
Very intriguing, very obscure and a little bit mysterious. So liking the Area 51.
So for those of you that don't know, Area 51 is located in the remote southern Nevada desert and is approximately 83 miles or 134 kilometers northwest of Las Vegas, and it's within the vast Nevada test and training range.
So it's very, very far away from society.
Yeah.
And any sort of life, perhaps, nearby. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So its primary function and purpose was established in the mid-1950s and was to serve as a secret testing and development facility for experimental aircraft, such as like the Skunk Works program, which was at the time.
The key projects that I had were the testing ground for iconic like spy planes, including the U-2 and the SR-71 Blackbird,
very iconic,
and the F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter.
Again, very iconic. These things have been, people have seen these aircrafts. Very much would be right to test out these weapons because they don't want other countries or enemies to essentially see weapons that they have going on. Otherwise, they can copy them and use it for their own use.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's obviously all for deterrent, like nuclear bombs are very much so. But the US government did not officially acknowledge the base's existence until 2013.
Oh my god.
Following the release of the declassified CIA documents. So it was actually kind of like a rumor beforehand, and people didn't really know that it existed until 2013, in which people then thought, shit, this thing's been around for a little while, and we didn't know.
The facility is guarded by highly trained and often plainclothes security personnel nicknamed Camo Dudes, with a strict policy authorizing the use of deadly force against unauthorized intruders.
I mean, everybody knows what happens, and I think obviously people have tried raiding Area 51, recently and in the past, or people try breaking in, and you're essentially vaporized or you go missing.
Yeah.
That's essentially what happens to people that enter.
But the question is, why are they fighting so hard to keep people out?
Exactly, which leads us on to some very popular theories and conspiracies. So, as we mentioned earlier about the Roswell incident and the wreckage, the famous theory basically mentions that Area 51 stores and studies the debris and bodies of extraterrestrial crew members recovered from the 1947 crash in Roswell, New Mexico, which, like we said, we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
But obviously, they believe that a lot of the things and the remnants and the aliens that were part of that incident were taken to Area 51 and are there to this day. And that's part of the reason why they defend it so much, alongside their obviously tested aircraft that they for their military and everything else. So
leading on from that, proponents, notably former alleged employee Bob Lazar, claims that the base's secret S4 sector is where the US government works to reverse engineer recovered alien spacecrafts to develop advanced weaponry.
I definitely heard of the old S4 sector. I remember the number 4. from being told that.
I thought you were going to say from being told how to count.
Being told how to count. And obviously the spacecraft, like you say, to develop weaponry, it would make sense.
Yeah.
It's futuristic technology, or technology that's not of our own, and if we're able to figure out how to use it, can be used as advanced weaponry against enemies on our own planet.
Yep.
And possibly against, possible alien invasions that could happen. Who knows? And some believe that. Sorry.
I was just going to say, especially if we're keeping their people, or the dead bodies of their, creatures and their friends in a random base in the middle of the desert.
Who's
in a
to
military
say
base.
That they won't come looking for them?
Exactly.
Perhaps. And some believe that the facility is a location for secret meetings or collaborative efforts between government officials and extraterrestrial beings themselves. So that we are working with E.T. That's mad.
You don't like E.T.
Controversial opinion. I'm not a fan of E.T.
AKA the wrong opinion.
I'm sorry. I just find it a little bit boring.
He's cute though. That's what matters.
Yeah, but
he needs to phone home.
There's better alien movies. Anyway. Like I say, that's quite a crazy conspiracy that could also be true. I'm not going to deny it. I'm very much someone who's very open to that idea.
If the CIA or the FBI or any American government official is listening, we are neither for nor against the support nor unsupport of your apparent Area 51.
But please consider subscribing.
Yeah.
That's all we ask.
Please tell your nan about us.
Yeah,
if you don't know what a nan is, it's your grandma.
And tell the aliens in the S4 sector that we are talking about them.
Yeah. Tell them that we got another podcast coming out next week and they can come and talk on here for a little bit.
Yeah, even though the next week's podcast is not about aliens, but they can come and chat about it.
We can make space.
They might know about next week's one.
We can show them a couple of films.
Very exciting episode next week.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that one. But we won't tease that just yet.
But getting back with some interesting trivia.
Oh, yes.
About the infamous Area 51.
Wouldn't be any Area 51 gossip without the trivia.
Yeah, exactly. So, the CIA's declassified documents revealed that many of the UFO sightings reported in the 1950s and 60s were in fact test flights of the U-2 and SR-71 spy planes. The ability to fly at extremely high altitudes and speeds made them appear as genuinely unidentified objects to commercial pilots and observers.
I remember seeing the Blackbird, and my grandpops also told me about this because he loves aviation and planes. That the Blackbird was very much one of those planes that was considered an alien because they had no one had ever seen anything like it before, and it's bloody fast as well, and it looks different. I remember looking at it, seeing images of it, but it was actually, people thought that it was actually an alien spacecraft going around because it's just bizarre. It was a unique looking ship, and the nearest public road in Nevada State Route 375 was officially renamed the Extraterrestrial Highway in 1996 due to the area's notoriety for UFO sightings.
I've heard of Route 375.
Yes, and that's pretty cool. It's called Extraterrestrial Highway. To me, that's as cool as the Isle of Wight being called Ghost Island or Dinosaur Island.
Instead of the highway to hell, it's the highway to space.
Highway to space. So E.T. Highway. I mean, I'd love to go along E.T. Highway.
Same.
I think that'd be really cool.
We should do that. If you want to see a bad boo
outing to Extraterrestrial Highway, then let us know, and please
bad boo road trip.
Please subscribe and support us. Share us around. We'd love to go and do these amazing things for you guys. So, it's free to subscribe and follow us on Instagram and TikTok and
Facebook,
LinkedIn. You name it. Go and follow us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's free. Any support you can give us allows us to go and do these really cool things for you guys.
And speaking of pretty cool things that the internet can do, in 2019, for those of you that either don't know about this event or, I don't know, maybe you weren't alive then. If you weren't alive then, that means that you're less than 6 years old now. So you probably shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
You probably don't even know what alien is.
And I'm so profusely sorry if you are listening, because that means that I've been swearing quite a lot. But irrelevant to that, in 2019 was one of the greatest events of that year. So there was a viral social media joke that proposed an event to actually storm Area 51 and to see them aliens.
Let's go see them aliens.
This led to a massive online attention and a small number of curiosity seekers actually showing up near the perimeter of the area, basically.
I remember how much of a craze it was.
Mm-hmm.
And like there were so many people saying, yeah, let's go and see the aliens, and barely anyone showed up.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because
I remember seeing posts online for it of people being like, yeah, are you going to go? Are you going to go?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a wild thing, and it's just crazy how things like that could take off. It's so dangerous as well.
I know, it's really, really dangerous.
I mean, everybody's so curious, but I mean, I suppose that's quite a great attempt in, you know, trying to get the answers, because using social media as a tool to go and uncover the truth was probably the closest thing anybody's ever going to get to actually doing it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're ever going to know unless someone in the government or political line actually reveals the truth.
Unfortunately not. However, just on the actual event itself, it took place on and around September the 20th, because I believe people actually camped outside of Area 51 in the desert. But the phrase for it was basically, they can't stop all of us. And it was originally created on an American Facebook event page. And it was just basically to storm the area and to see if there were any aliens, to see what they were actually doing there. And after hundreds of thousands of people had said that they would show up online, and it had reached millions across the world, possibly even billions of people. You never know nowadays with social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the day of the event, only about 150 people showed up to the two main entrances of Area 51. No one succeeded in entering the actual site itself, but after that there were actually two music festivals that were planned to coincide with that event, which they basically just kind of told everybody to go to as it was kind of nearby, which were called Alien Stock in Rachel, Nevada, and the Storm Area 51 Base Camp in Hyco, Nevada.
That's really funny. I think that barely anyone turned up.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a suicide mission. It's kind of like,
it is,
us. You can't mow us all down, and one of us is going to seep through, you know, out of the floods of people that are going to allegedly go. But no one turned up.
Yeah.
Really, out of the hundreds and thousands of people, millions of people, in fact, that knew about it, only 150-ish people got there.
I know, that's really sad. The people that must have actually really wanted to do it must have been so devastated.
Death wish, though. Let's face it. If you're storming Area 51.
However, what I find really very interesting, just before we move on to the next bit of the podcast, is obviously Nevada is in Vegas. Vegas is in America.
Yeah.
And America has a president.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of presidents that have actually spoken about Area 51, like publicly, is crazy.
Very much.
So many of them have.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, if not all of them, have known the secrets.
Yeah.
At least of what is in there.
Yeah, and just to quickly go through a couple of them, the most notable one was Ronald Reagan in 1987, who actually suggested to the United Nations that there was a universal threat of an alien invasion to the entire world.
It's crazy.
But then there was also Jimmy Carter in 1976, who said that if he was elected, then he would make all information on UFO sightings available to the public, including his own sighting in 1969.
That's cool.
There's also Barack Obama, who confirmed that there was footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. That was on a report for CNN, which is obviously one of the biggest news reporting pages in America.
Absolutely.
There is Bill Clinton, who discussed it on a YouTube video with
Where's vlogging?
with an author, and even Dwight D. Eisenhower, who allegedly met with extraterrestrials at an airbase, according to some YouTube videos and internet findings that people have had.
It's mad.
And even to things like JFK. People say that that's why he was assassinated, is because he was threatening.
Theories, isn't it?
He was threatening to expose Area 51, and the CIA and the FBI apparently teamed up to have him assassinated because he was finding out too much.
Yes.
And it's also why they killed Marilyn Monroe, because she was having an affair with him, and people speculate that she actually found out something that was secret about Area 51 or about something that was to do with extraterrestrials, and that's why she was killed before JFK was, but he knew too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much.
So many conspiracy theories. These are all conspiracy theories in this video, so
Not
please
fact.
don't
Not
think
all of it's fact.
that anything that we're saying that we are stating as fact.
Yes.
The only thing we are saying as fact is aliens are real.
Yes. Believe it.
Yes, that's the only fact that there is in this video. But the rest of it is just purely speculation and conspiracy. But very interesting ones that you are completely free to believe in if you want to.
So talking about our opinions on aliens.
And speculations, if you will.
Speculations. That leads us very nicely into our spooky spotlight.
With the topic this week being so vast on the subject of aliens, obviously there are so many films that we could have possibly chosen for this episode.
Absolutely.
And it goes without saying that obviously Alien is one of the best alien and extraterrestrial films out there.
Very much is.
But we thought we would make this spooky spotlight a little homage to the ones that we haven't spoken about today.
Yeah, we won't go into detail about these films. We're just going to list virtually
a few honourable mentions for you.
And just basically go and tell you to check them out. So,
as we mentioned earlier in the podcast,
one of which is The Thing,
mm-hmm.
which is a great film. It's John Carpenter.
Again.
Who also obviously did Halloween. Great film. Set right out in Antarctica, I believe. And just a wild film
mm-hmm.
about aliens.
Very similar to the Reddit story that we read earlier.
It is. So The Thing, put that on your bucket list of movies.
Alien watch list.
An alien watch list, The Thing. That's number one.
The second grand mention is, of course, the 2005 release of War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, indeed. That is another classic.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, originally written by H.G. Wells, but this one of Steven Spielberg, with Tom Cruise starring in it, is brilliant.
Yeah, go and see Tom Cruise in his prime.
Yeah, it's a brilliant
mm-hmm.
movie. Very action-packed and it's very tense.
If
takes
you want
the whole War of the Worlds thing to a whole grand spectacle. Obviously, it's set in modern times, not within the Victorian times of the original book, but it is a masterpiece. And of course, we have the films like Signs, which is another brilliant, really tense, scary, disturbing alien film.
Now one of my favourite films of all time.
Absolutely.
Obviously, it's got Mel Gibson in it. He was absolutely amazing. I saw that film when I was maybe like 8 years old. I can't remember what year it came out. I'm pretty sure it was in the 90s somewhere. But it absolutely shook me to my core. The VHS tapes of the aliens like out in public spaces scared me so much.
Yeah.
I wanted to like hide in my closet with a tinfoil hat on, like the kids do in that film. It absolutely scared everything out of me.
It's a great film.
Yeah, it's truly very like, I don't know, if you're younger, it's gonna freak you out. If you're older, it's just a very good film.
It'll freak you out
still.
whatever age you are.
Yeah.
And I think the last honourable mention will probably be Nope.
Mm-hmm.
Which some people like, some people didn't like. But I think it's a really interesting alien adaptation where I won't say the twist in the film. There is a twist about what the alien actually is.
Yeah.
But it's all about the human desire for spectacle and how human beings basically will do anything for spectacle.
If you want an amazing film to write your dissertation on, write it about Nope.
Nope is a great... I did that at uni. I wrote about... not Nope because it wasn't out, but I did it about Jordan Peele, who directed the film and wrote it. But it's all about spectacle and our desire and hunger for that one shot, the money shot of the alien.
And just for money in general.
Exactly. I thought I'd do a little honourable mention of my own alien sighting that I believe was true. On the way to athletics when I was young with my youngest brother and my dad, we were going over the Sandown Downs, not the Clown wasn't there, but we were going over Sandown because it was on the way to Sandown Athletics Club. I used to do running, and we all were talking and we all saw the same thing, which was like this dashing object, like a flying saucer, go through the sky.
Ooh.
And all three of us immediately stopped talking. We just sort of were in silence for a bit, and we were like, what was that? So that was a crazy story, and if Tom, my brother, or my dad is listening, you will remember it. It was it was wild. So if you guys want more of a detail on that, then just let us know. Because that was a crazy encounter. That was a close encounter of the Sandown kind.
Yeah.
There you go, a little close encounter.
And of course, Predator.
Predator, another great movie. Takes the Alien movie and blends it with action as well.
And if you want a more comedy spin on it, Paul. Obviously got the great Simon Pegg and Nick Frost in it. And Absolute legends.
And Seth Rogen, who voices Paul, the alien. So yeah, that's a bunch of selections for you. Just the tip of the iceberg of an amazing subgenre of horror / sci-fi. So go and watch those. Let us know what your favourite alien film is as well in the comments.
Yeah, if you've got any films that we haven't listed here that you think are absolutely amazing, go and comment them on this video so that we can go and check them out.
Absolutely. But that leads us on to the end of tonight's episode.
So if you have enjoyed tonight's journey through the unnerving mystery of aliens, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Bad Boo for more updates and new episodes, as there's plenty more frights, flicks and folklore to come.
You can also haunt us on socials at Bad Boo Productions, where you can interact and leave suggestions for future episodes or contribute through polls and posts.
If you're after more creepy content, then our Patreon is now live, so if you'd like to hear and even see more of us, then head over there for exclusive Boo Crew videos and stories and live streams.
That's all from us for this extraterrestrial episode today. We've been your haunted hosts, Sam and Jodie, probing you up so the aliens don't have to. And until next time, keep your lights on, your doors locked, and remember, the shadows are never